Hello everybody, Dave Neal here. Welcome to part 3 of the video nobody asked for. This is in response to a roundtable discussion with former conservative Bachelor alumni on PragerU. As I've mentioned in the first 2 videos, PragerU is not a university, it's a far-right conservative media company founded by Prager, a talk show host. I posted this media bias chart saying that they're extreme right propaganda, poor sourcing, failed fact checks, false claims, to which Ninja for Hire commented that I was biased and that MediaFactCheck.com was biased. So, of course, I want to show this. Media Fact Check is founded in 2015. It's an independent online media outlet dedicated to educating the public on media bias and deceptive news practice. And you know, I'm sorry, I'm showing you this, but I didn't pull it over here. You know that they're not biased because look at all the ads that they have. They have to make money somehow. You know, it's all that clean media that's biased, that's got all the big money. They got Bush's beans over here, so you know they're not biased. Anyway, folks, point of what I'm saying is that this conversation was in itself biased in the sense that it didn't include any viewpoints to counter their arguments. Either way, I've made 2 videos so far talking about how Chris Harrison, by the way, your comments are just brilliant. Maggie said on the first video, I don't even understand what they are talking about. Nobody is saying Chris Harrison is a bad person. People are saying he was ignorant and racially insensitive. I thought their defense would be talking about the racial issue, not that Chris is their friends. How to gaslight everyone in one session. Well, let's continue to gaslight people and play the rest of their conversation. Hopefully this is the last part, but we're barely even halfway through, not even halfway through.
Yeah, so my background is professionally has been in conservative media, and I've been doing that since before The Bachelor. So that's actually part of the reason that I suspect they chose me. My character was probably going to be different leading into The Bachelor than when we got there. I think it kind of changed because my contestant knew a lot of conservative people that I knew, that I was working with. And, so when I stepped out of The Bachelor, people were like, oh my gosh, why is this Bachelor contestant at the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Why is she tweeting about the State of the Union? But they didn't realize that I already had a professional job. I had worked in conservative media. And, most recently, just like Garrett, Jordan, like you're part of Turning Point. I've been working with Charlie Kirk and those guys for a while. I work with a lot of conservative media. I worked on the president's campaign this in 2020. So I was very involved, and a lot of what I do is I help represent a lot of the surrogates and stuff. And so I just have been involved, and I have always been a little bit outspoken, but I think it did, it catches people off guard when I started to be a little bit more vocal about it. When this campaign ramped up, I started being a lot more vocal about, my personal opinions on Instagram and stuff, things I didn't normally do. I didn't hide it, but I didn't fully promote it.
What are you saying?
I did, not that I have the follower amount that you guys have, but I just started, people were getting confused. Wait, why do I follow you? Who are you? What are you doing? Ooh, why? Ew, gross.
So a good point is that when reality TV contestants speak their political opinion, everyone's like, why? I followed you because you were banging some guy in a windmill. You know what I mean? And it's important for us to remember that we don't need to value the opinions of others just because they were on our TV. So I know she's not trying to make that point, but I have to remind all of us, get your opinions from people that you value, that are doing their own civic duties, that are working with community groups. Get your opinions from people that you trust, that have your right intentions, not somebody who bumped a couple of Harrisons over there in a fantasy suite.
They started getting mad at me. And so I started talking to other conservative influencers, and they're like, we don't get that kind of hate. I go, because you built your following from conservatives. I go, I built my following from an ABC show. I go, so I get so much hate. They're so confused. Why is she talking about this? But they all really are. And I just, I think the goal is to never kneel. I think what
Never
Chris
kneel.
Harrison did, kneeling felt probably to him it's the right thing to do. I think it was wrong. And I think, it's going to take a lot of people to be bold in their faith and to speak for truth in order to move forward and to educate young people. And some people.
So Jillian Anderson is saying, educate other people by not seeing sides that are different than yours. Because that's all Chris Harrison did. All Chris Harrison did was say, well, I see how I'm wrong for interrupting you when the topic's about race. I'm seeing how, as a rich white guy, I probably can't understand your plight, and I think that's okay. It's okay to understand that we're not always right. It is okay to take a knee.
people do say, oh, I'm scared too. I get a lot of, I'm scared. I think we really are the silent majority, regardless of what the last 2020 election said.
I think, Jillian, picking up off of where you just left off, Chris did Neal in the Strahan interview. And now I think that he was probably promised that they were going to allow him to come back. I'm not going to say, I say promised loosely. I'm not saying it was written, but it could have been an oral agreement or something. And he didn't come back. And now they've got, Caitlin Bristow and Tayshia coming on, which seems like they're just like splitting the house and trying to make everyone happy. Very uncomfortable with that. But, and now he's lawyered up. He's got a power lawyer from LA.
Power
I want to talk to you about
Brian
something. I'm going to get more into the influencing side here, not necessarily with The Bachelor. So I understood that you went to, you were in California where you're at, and you went and spoke on political affiliation discrimination, correct?
He's going to in April.
He's going to,
yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so let me tell you about my experience. I'm someone that has commercially partnered with more brands than like the top 1% of this country. Okay, there's not a lot of people that have worked with the brands I've worked with, liberal and conservative. I come out as a conservative. I lost about 4,000 followers. Okay, I'm at like 442 now. That was my canceling. People said to me, you know what? I like your attitude daily, and you're so upbeat. I'm going to continue to follow you. And I think that that's so important when you're inserting your politics into things. Also insert your character. That way they know where you're coming from and see that it's coming from the heart. And conservatism really matters to me. And I lost sponsorships, but guess what? They still had to compensate me because I didn't do anything legally wrong. And now I've got the ability to hold the people that did this to me liable. I can personally go and say, hey, you did this. First off, you did this off a claim that is totally baseless because it's not defamation. It's not defamation. When you're losing income and you're an independent contractor, I can actually seek a lawsuit from you for smearing my name. I can do that. I can take it to civil court and litigate that.
I guess the question here is it smearing your name if a company decides they don't want to work with you? Cancel culture is complicated because it's a broad umbrella for a lot of different things. If you come out and say you're conservative and you're voting for the nominee for the Republican Party, and a company decides they don't want to support you, you both are in the right. You have the right to do that. The company has the right to decide not to support you. But also, if you've already got a written agreement with them, I believe you're right. They can't fire you for morality clause because you voted in a fair election. That is something that's right. But as a freelancer, a lot of times you get hired for a one day here, one day there. So if they want to decide they don't want to work with you and that's in their best interest, then that's their right to do. So very interesting to hear of political affiliation discrimination, PAD. I'm calling it PAD. So remember the PAD squad, the PAD fad here. This is interesting though. This is interesting to, I guess, I don't know if you're trying to play the victim here, but by saying you're being discriminated against by your political opinion, I do empathize if you just have conservative values and that's that. When it gets tied into the Trump thing, you're going into a different direction. It's like plenty of QAnon people have conservative values, but also what their thoughts can be toxic, and it kind of goes to a different place. If you're tied. I always use Tide as an example. If you're Tide and you want to sell laundry detergent, you might not want somebody who's vocal in any direction with their political leanings. You just want someone with nice teeth to put on that clean white t-shirt and show you that they got the barbecue stain off.
These people have to realize they're hurting companies that still have to compensate people, and now they're not getting my service to promote their product.
This point he's making is so not important of a point. Look, no company is going to go in the profit, is going to dip into their losses because they had to pay you an extra $5,000 and not promote you. You're not as big as you think you are.
So the whole thing is just undoing from the company side and the influencer side. For what? Because that person woke up and had a sour state of mind. It's just so ridiculous that a baseless claim from one or two folks from a troll account on social media can take away from your reputation that you've had. I've had my reputation with commercial partnerships for years now. Look at Chris, 20 years of being a host. One thing happened. One thing. Rachael goes on her podcast, influences the people that follow her to be upset with him, and then she wants people to denounce the hate towards her. You don't get to breed it and then get to totally just not have to deal with it. That's not right. And her deleting her Instagram or deactivating it for the time that it was, I came out pretty soft on that. I didn't want to knock her for it, but it was an absolute dramatized feature in what she's doing. Her movement is about segregating. It's about making her life matter more than anyone else's life. And I've met Rachel several times. Her and I were good friends before all this. Her life doesn't matter more than anybody else's life. And that's how I feel about it. That's a statement from me that I sponsor. You can dash Jordan Kimball underneath that, okay?
You can dash Jordan Kimball underneath that. It's a little dangerous. I think Rachel Lindsay has the right to make her Instagram private for a weekend if she wants social media detox. I completely reject his point of view there. You know, I don't think Rachel Lindsay thinks her life is worth more than anybody else's. I think she wants equality for a lot of people, and she realizes she's got a platform that a lot of people of color don't have. So you look at Rachel Lindsay as like she's got it all. She's a lawyer. She's the daughter of a judge. She's been a star of the show. Rachel Lindsay looks at it as she knows her friends are still getting pulled over by cops. She knows people that are still getting shot or choked to death. She knows all these things that are happening that aren't right. That goes way beyond The Bachelor. But The Bachelor is a platform that reaches millions of people's homes. So that's her platform that she has to talk about these issues. I don't think she thinks she's better than anyone else. I think she feels a burden of work that needs to be done because other people haven't done it in the community that she's in.
Taylor, today, this morning, you sent me, I think it was in the fun chat, about how Michael Knowles, and it was some guy with 3 followers came on and said this is disrespectful or something like that. And then
there's Harry's Razors. Yeah, they called him. They said they DM'd Harry's Razors or publicly called them out on social media for sponsoring Michael Knowles' show because he said something quote unquote transphobic. And then
I think we do give platforms to people that shouldn't have, everyone has the right to a platform, but doesn't mean they need to have one. So there are stories that the media will pick up on, like Trader Joe's when they got canceled over the summer. There was this cancel Trader Joe's movement because they had normalized different cultures like Trader Ming's and they had Trader Jose's and this and that. And then you find out that it was a petition that was started by a 17-year-old, and it doesn't mean the age is important there, but this person came from obscurity and then the media jumped on it because it was a fun story for the media to be like, oh boy, cancel culture. The media knows they can drive a wedge into certain issues and create so much response from either end. And I see it with YouTube. I see the responses I get of people blindly defending Chris Harrison without doing the critical thinking, blindly defending certain people without doing the critical thinking. And it's like, we can't talk enough about these circumstances because there's so much resistance to people just having the conversation. So I do understand that people will try to earn woke points. I do understand that people online will have sinister motives. You can't really base everybody off of those individuals. They will exist. We live in a culture where people get rewarded by retweets. We live in a culture that people get rewarded by trying to slam others and shame others. You see the Taylor Nolan. She's so busy slamming everyone for all their wrongdoings with all the skeletons that are in her own closet. So of course this exists. This exists, but it doesn't take away from the core issues here.
And they withdrew their sponsorship because of this complaint from a guy with 3 followers, an anonymous troll account on Twitter.
So that's it can take you down so easily like that.
But that's on corporations to not bow to irresponsible petitions, and because there are things out there that corporations will be so quick to just denounce something, and it's like, whoa, hold on. I know you feel like you got 20 people retweeting you, calling you this or that, but that doesn't mean, we have to do a better job of looking into issues and understanding that, the Bachelor issue, this is a big issue. This isn't some random person with 2 followers tweeted to get somebody fired here. This is a big issue. So you can't just compare all of these different scenarios, and that's the problem. It's that's a problem when you start saying cancel culture. When Trump didn't get elected, we all know by now it was a fair election. If anything, it's always been rigged against minorities because minorities have a harder time voting. I live in a city where, you see voter manipulation happening. You see people that are forced to travel way outside of their zone or do it in work days when they can't get time off to vote. So if anything, it's been weighed against the minority vote for a long time, the way that gerrymandering has happened and so forth. So it's when Trump was saying that he was a victim of cancel culture, you hear Ted Cruz talk about being a victim of cancel culture. It's like, we can't just let's be smarter than just saying cancel culture is the result of unfairness. No, sometimes you just lost. You might have just lost the election.
Yeah, they compensated him.
To be taken down
No
just
idea.
like people are. I remember one of my biggest clients that I work with is a victim of cancel culture, and he lost his whole company over it. And the thing was, he didn't even do anything wrong. Now we have this, like, people had leaked a story about him, and that's all it took was one bad headline by Forbes, and he loses his company.
So this is where it gets interesting. Let's see if we can find this article over here. Someone had mentioned how Jordan Kimball was actually responsible for basically canceling his own. So here it is right here. Didn't Jordan cancel his own fiance over a false rumor? People said, excellent point. So then the story comes out. It came out a couple years later that the whole story wasn't true. Basically, she was accused of cheating on him. He dumps her. Reality Steve came out and apologized over it, did a whole podcast on it. Jordan didn't give 2 shoots about it. So anyway, the idea of being against cancel culture, it seems like everyone, it's tough to take a stance on anything in this world because you could be called out on it. And it looks like Jordan Kimball was guilty of canceling his own fiance. Interesting story that we almost forgot about. You guys, that's a whole thing. And then it took her a long time to clear her name, but like we're all guilty of, just like they're saying that is a problem, is that people only read the initial headline and they don't follow up, and then you don't get the truth out. And when you do get the truth out, it's too late. People have informed their opinions and they moved on.
It just was a snowball effect. And so real issues of racism aren't even being looked into because we're looking at the headlines and the wrong things and the wrong people without actually doing any investigative work, any background, or looking at their opinion or what may have actually happened. The headline hits first. We're all clickbaiters out there, and they're just looking to get the most response out of the biggest headline, regardless of who it hurts and whether it's actually true or not.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Garrett.
Clickbait culture.
I'll say from my perspective too, after all this too, is that like I lost brand deals too, and
it's because you're not relevant.
I'll say a good thing that's come out of it is that certain brands that are conservative viewing and are not afraid to bow down will reach out. And I'll say again from a positive perspective that I'd argue, and y'all too comment too if you feel the same way or differently. I actually have a stronger relationship with those brands, a more personal relationship with those brands, because we share that kind of common theme of reaching out and speaking out on our beliefs. And I share a better relationship with those brands than I did with the brands prior. And that obviously there's a lot of bad.
A lot is being said here, but not a lot is being said. Like this is a 35-minute long clip. I'm not hearing any substance.
And I've gotten to know everyone with that brand, and it's been a strong relationship. And so, yeah, there has been a lot of bad with this cancel culture that's come out, but I believe there's a lot of people that have, stood tall.
Still like his hair, though.
Back people up based on their beliefs, which I respect.
That's like the Goya beans, man. It's like the Goya beans. Like as soon as they start canceling them, and then the guy comes out and says like he supports the president, and they think that we're gonna destroy Goya beans now. And then it's like tons of people all over went and bought Goya beans. Tons of Hispanics too. Sabrina's Cuban. She bought.
I love their plantains. I bought a ton of plantains that day.
What?
I went to Publix.
We all bought Goya. Goya. I mean, same with Mike Lindell.
Big Goya. Mike Lindell is insane.
I didn't even know it was a brand of beans, basically.
I did.
They brought the My Pillow guy into it.
I still didn't eat them. I bought them and they sat in my pantry forever. I never even ate them.
Oh, they're delicious. Yeah. So Jillian, you have a great point with saying that the headlines actually take away from the matter. We've got a movement going right now that's called Stop Asian Hate. There's a hashtag with it and everything. And then you've got these college kids at these universities. I'm not knocking all college kids, but it's predominantly from universities where these petitions are arising from. And they're becoming institutions for the woke is what it is, these universities. And it depends on what region you're in, I guess. But now we've got this Panda Express petition going around where they're saying that it's a racist company and they're hating on Asian entrepreneurs. So I don't understand how we can have a Stop
I've never heard
Asian
of
Hate
this
and also have this Panda Express is racist movement going at the same time, because to me, it kind of just undoes the entire, how is all of that on one side? How do both of those parties exist in the same political view?
I don't know
how that exists. You want to stop the hate against a certain type of person, but then you literally want to attack someone that is Asian and has done really well for themselves just because there's a panda as a symbol of their company.
So the
Uncle
cancel culture
Ben's.
mob is ultimately going to eat itself. I mean, you brought up earlier
Yeah.
Taylor Nolan, so just to fill Will in.
I don't know what they're talking about. I know nothing about this Panda Express. We live in a country of 330 plus million people, so you're gonna get little groups doing this and that. But I think we're grasping on straws
As
here.
the reality TV translator. So Taylor Nolan was this woke Bachelor contestant who basically was literally collecting Venmo payments from people for racial sensitivity training. And then she was like very loud on the Fire Chris bandwagon. And then the next day it came out that she had all these racially insensitive tweets. And the best part of it was that she didn't even take full accountability. She blamed her whiteness because she's half white and said that she centered her whiteness and that's where it came from. I'm just kind of curious your guys' thoughts on that.
Oh, it's like the funniest thing. Oh my God, she's so clever. What a business model. I didn't, it's the first time I'm
My
hearing about
whiteness
it.
did it
Someone else
too.
can speak. I just think it's
You haven't heard
hilarious.
about this yet?
When she blamed white supremacy, I couldn't believe it. I'm glad I wasn't holding anything of importance because it was going to be shattered. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
I laughed. I mean,
So I guess the left and the right can both agree on Taylor Nolan being ridiculous. And of course, psychologists might look into the self-hatred she has on the inside and how she used that to bully others, both with her past tweets and then in cancel culture. But they're not going to have this deep of a convo about it.
it's just,
It is
I mean,
funny. Though. It is
that's what-
ironic.
to me, that's what the woke culture is, though. It's like, okay, what would everyone want me to say? Bam. Okay, I'm going to say it. It's because I'm half white. And that's what I'm going to blame. Yeah, go.
I love trans people. I
Yeah.
support gay rights. Yeah, Taylor and I
funny
did Taylor and I did a skit about that when all the businesses were being boarded up. We went out in front of some businesses and started yelling leftist things so that our business wouldn't get broken
It
in.
was nuts because I'm here in DC to see these the protests that were here. I mean, I could see the smoke from the church from my house. And to see all these businesses that were torn down by these riots, also supporting the riots, I go, who do you think you're pandering to? That sign is not going to stop them from breaking in again. I didn't get it. I didn't
Yeah,
get
Target said, hey, we've got insurance money. It's okay. Take the TVs, guys. We got insurance money. So that's what Target said. I don't know.
Let me ask you
Well, it's
guys
like-
to finish it up today.
Please.
Would you recommend people who are conservative or have even values that just support freedom and liberty, or maybe different than the leftist views that you find on The Bachelor? Would you advise people who are conservative to go on the show, or at least try to get on the show? Or would you say this is kind of a dying place that we should let fizzle out because it's
Go
not
on.
something that conservatives should support?
I
Go on.
tell them, go on it. If you're conservative, go on. Don't let that stop you. I mean, you're going to go fight this thing right now for the political, discrimination. Nah, don't let everyone take. If you got a dream to go be on reality TV, or you want to be on The Bachelor, or whatever you want to do, don't let your other people's political views. You don't have to be obedient to people's opinions. So
I agree.
So
I agree with him. Conservatives, go on the show. Share your opinions. But let's get our opinions that aren't based on hate, based on fear, based on media manipulation. Share your opinions. Conservative doesn't have to be, people that are conservative don't have to be bad. It's the people that want to take away from others. That's the problem, is there's so much fear that's built into it. Can't you be conservative? Can't you be fiscally conservative and still be okay if that gay guy marries that other gay guy? There's just so many, with the left-right system, there's so many people that fit into different pockets. There's plenty of people that voted for Bernie Sanders, and then when he wasn't elected, voted for Trump. These people exist, and it's in a way bigger population than people understand. People are more complicated than just being on the left or being on the right. And with that said, I come to that from a place where almost all of my values are progressive: minimum wage, healthcare for all. But I also understand the danger in not letting people talk and learn and have conversation. And so I understand, but I think that's overblown. I think the idea of that's overblown. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it does happen. People do get deplatformed. But also, it takes a lot for that to happen. You got to be spewing a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of hate, a lot of divisiveness for that to happen. So if you lose 4,000 followers on your Instagram, fine. They weren't fans of you anyway. But keep your core, be true to yourself, and move on. Problem is, with this whole conversation, there isn't a diversity of opinion, so therefore it's just an echo chamber.
People to like not go on the show. It had nothing to do with my political beliefs. I just said, oh, that was really tough as a woman, and all my friends, I saw what we went through, and probably just don't do it. But nothing, I would never let anything deter me because of my political views, and I wouldn't tell anyone else to stop doing something because of their political views either. So slightly different answer, but I mean, I think that girls just have a very different experience than guys do on the show.
Sure.
And kind of afterwards as well.
That's Brittany Galvin.
You're right,
Yeah,
they do.
I'd say go on. I mean, if you're part of a band or if you're a conservative, go on and expect the worst because they're going to twist it. Let's just face it. Go on, but the worst thing you can do is bow down afterwards when they do come after you. And go on until all of us start our own conservative bachelor. How about that?
There you
Wow.
go.
They're going to have a conservative bachelor, and then they're going to have a bachelor where like the person who's the bachelor is trans. They were a woman and now they're a man.
I knew you were going to say that.
I watched the
It's
first
like
one.
going to go all the way through.
Pan rate.
What's with this guy's obsession with trans people? What? That's 2 times in a row he's mentioned it. Like, why do you let them be alive? Let them be.
Sure, yeah.
Cover all
Sorry.
bases.
Before we wrap up,
Weird.
I kind of want to leave it, we actually just released a reel kind of criticizing Rachael a little bit on bowing to the woke mob, and same with Chris, but I do feel bad for her, genuinely feel bad for her. And I'm curious, as contestants, do you guys have any advice for her now that, she's off the show, she's been dumped? I mean, I would love we have a great graphic design department here at PragerU, but do you guys have any advice for her?
I mean, my biggest thing, and like I said, I think guys experience the show a little bit differently, but they can definitely relate to us. But when you have, I think when you're on reality TV and it's, such a huge one, you have people pulling at you in every different direction. And you have people commenting on you and commenting on your personality, your looks, your body type. I mean, everything, good, bad, ugly, nasty, and even from your personal life. And then to the public to get just pulled apart, on GMA or People Magazine, that's a lot. And you read it and you see it and you see your celebrity idols that you like look up to on Twitter just making fun of you. And it's horrible. And we're all like wrestling with all these things of how we should be and how we should act and how we should look. And should I wear my makeup this way or dress this way because everyone's making fun of me? And I can tell you, like, and they make you feel like a really bad person. And the biggest freedom I got, was when I gave it to God, and he said to me, like, Mike, your confidence comes through me alone. And if every day I could put my head to sleep or put my head to bed, knowing that he was proud of me, it didn't matter what my mom thought, the people who were writing those magazine articles, people who were on ABC, it didn't matter what anyone thought because he was proud of me.
God
and that
was
the
proud of
only
you,
person
Jillian
who I
Anderson.
cared about. Because when you're in a situation, you think about what everyone is writing about you, what everyone is saying about you. And it's a lot when you try to pay attention to all of it. But when you pay attention to him and what he thinks of you, nothing else matters. And you can go to sleep at night peacefully.
Amen.
Yeah, it's going through my own mental health battle after the show, after coming out. It's funny how you have to phrase it as coming out as a conservative, but letting it be known that I'm a conservative. My words to her would be, just know that you are enough. You don't need everyone else's affirmations. I went through that too, where like, I felt like, okay, I need these people to like me. And it's just part of it. It doesn't make you a bad human. It's just part of being under that much pressure by society and by a fan base. I would say that, to Jillian's point, you are enough, because you are enough in your own eyes, whether you realize it or not. You're enough in your family's eyes. You're enough in God's eyes. That's all you need. You don't need anyone else's opinion. And you certainly don't need anyone else telling you that you're a bad person, because you're not.
I think that if I could give her a word of advice, then she probably wouldn't take it. What Jillian said, looking to God, that's called guidance. It's literally the definition of guidance in my book, is taking where I'm going in my life from God. And I think that she's taken a direction from the mob instead. She's come out several times and apologized in many different ways. Matt James broke up with her after defending her and then saying, no, she was wrong. Chris barely stood in the way of Rachael attacking her, because Rachael is on so many different platforms calling her KKK, Rachael Kirkconnell. Her name is so smeared. I'm not even certain she'll be able to get a job after this. My advice to her is to look to God for guidance, not the mob, because they're not going to take care of her. They don't have her back. And she's caved so much that I don't know when it will be that she will see the sunshine again mentally, because it's just, she's in a bad spot.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing onto this. That's okay. Well, yeah. During mine, I remember being so deep down in it. And when you're deep down in that situation in your own head like that, you think it's never going to end. You think that your life will never get better, and you get the darkest thoughts you'll ever have in your life. The fact is, it will end one day. And the only person that can make that end is you. And again, like we've all been saying, your relationship with God. And so just know that it will end. People think you're bad, even though you're not. It's all going to end one day, and you're going to be fine in the end. So just hang in there.
15 minutes comes as fast as it goes, as long as you get into it.
Yeah, you're right.
And now look at me. No one even knows who I am anymore.
I've seen you on Twitter before.
I am on Twitter. I am known only rarely in the conservative world, not really in the Bachelor world anymore, but I do that strategically. I kind of cut off my life from all Bachelor promos, and I bring it up here and there, but I just started doing all my nerdy stuff in DC again, and life went back to normal for the most part. But here I am getting to meet new Bachelor fam friends, so it's great.
Good. Well, thank you guys. I'm excited to start our own conservative Bachelor. It's going to be awesome. I'll be taking applications now. Are
you the first contestant?
I have a girlfriend, so I can't do it, but
we can rig it so she wins.
Yeah, exactly. That's what conservatives do. Guys, thank you so much for coming on. This has been Jordan Kimball, Garrett Powell, and Jillian Anderson. You guys
can you imagine if they do the conservative Bachelor and then they're recapping it? Oh no, what a nightmare. Look, I think the idea that everyone hates you because you're conservative is misguided. I think people need to be better at pushing back on the defensiveness of it all and understand what policies you may be for or against. A lot of it's just a lifestyle thing. Like you're raised from Tampa, Florida. Chances are you might grow up in a culture that thinks a certain way, and maybe you learn and grow from that, maybe you don't. But you guys, the opinion seems to be that Rachael Kirkconnell caved to the pressure and that she'll never be good enough for the woke side. As they put it, I don't know, folks. A conservative Bachelor. That's what they're looking to. They say she's in a bad spot. I agree with him there. Rachael Kirkconnell for sure in a bad spot. Hopefully, though, the sunlight that comes at the end of the tunnel is one where she understands a new way of thinking and has a more enlightenment. And as far as the bridging the divide between the different ways people think and are in this sort of culture war, civil war that we have going on, again, I don't know. Leave a comment and let me know if you see a roadmap back to putting this thing back on the tracks, as it were. I do agree that I think if you're conservative and you want to go on The Bachelor, you should absolutely go. Don't be afraid to share your opinion. I think it's important that we get back to a place where people share their opinions, and be okay if there's pushback from that. Be okay, learn how to defend your opinions. That's an important part, is learn. If you're going to think one certain way, learn how to defend it in a way that doesn't breed fear or, be the victim of a political affiliation discrimination, the old pad master there. I don't know. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. More to come if you guys want. I've got a private Patreon episode called Post Bachelor Season 25 Update and some new stand-up comedy. If you want to check that out, it's on my Patreon. Go to patreon.com/thesap. Bye, everyone. See you later.